Welcome everyone to Khordmaster Keys. Really excited to have you guys here with us today. Natasha, we are not live as I mentioned, so we're good. This is all chill, all nice and chill here. There we go. And we have my good friend Natasha AKA the Art of Na with us today. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Yeah, I'm feeling really, really good. So like a major accomplishment actually happened just maybe like an hour ago. Technically, it wasn't really a collaborative, it was just me, but put together the crib in the nursery today. And it was like really special and nice because like, it's like I'm putting it together. I have like my OB4 speaker and I have the radio on, so I'm just kind of vibing out. And I'm just like thinking, like as it's coming to fruition, as it's like starting to look like a crib and not just like 30 pieces of like wood and stuff and plastic. I'm like, our baby is gonna be laying in this like in very like in a couple of short months. So I'm very excited for it, as you can tell.
Congratulations, man. Again, I know I've already said it a million times, but that's awesome. When is she due again?
Yeah, thank you so much. So it is April 15th, tax day.
Nice.
April 15th. Yeah, so anytime tax around day. Then. Yeah, that's the easy way to, it's like a little thing that we just say to like, make it easy to remember, I guess, right? Yeah.
That's awesome.
But we're super excited. Yeah. And other than that, just a productive day today. Just, I was actually watching some people's live streams on YouTube, like other people that are kind of in similar spaces as I'm in. And there's one guy that I found, his name is Stolen Drums. But it's like, I think it's Stolen Drums with no vowels in it. So it's like STLN and then DRMS. I think that's how it's spelled. But I'm just like watching this guy's live streams and I'm just so inspired by what he's doing. Cause like one of the main differences between that and most other live streams that I've seen is that like, when I do my lives, I'm sitting here, I'm talking to the audience, I'm, chatting, that kind of thing, monitoring chats, but I'm kind of stationary. His live stream, he has his camera like in the corner of the room and his whole room is set up where he's like doing some stuff here and then he'll like get up and then go walk over there and like start drumming something or playing guitar. And I just felt so inspired by that because like I have a decent amount of gear here, like a lot of the portable stuff, and my stuff is kind of in silos. It's like, sometimes like I'll be doing this, but I'm like, oh man, I would love to if I had that thing over there, like in this moment, but they're not like all connected. So that I was just like thinking of it last night, and the first thing this morning, I was planning on making some adjustments to the studio, but then I knew that we had our chat today, and I didn't want to rock the boat, so to speak, like make any like major changes and have to like deal with that.
Try new things.
So, Exactly. So I was like, let me just let that be where it's at. And then, of course, well, not of course, but we had a little issue with the crib. One of the pieces was missing a few days ago when we were putting it together.
Oh, no.
So they sent it to us, and it came in today unexpectedly. I didn't expect it to be here so fast. So I was like, Everything else is scrapped. Let me go do that right now. So, yeah. So it's been a good day. It's been productive. Pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so one of the questions that I usually ask my guests, and I stole it from another podcaster who I was a guest on her platform, and I told her that I stole it from her, and she's very, very upset with me about it. No, she's not upset. She's like, she's cool with it, I think.
She's probably honored.
So she says, yeah, I would think so, right? That's pretty cool. I have to give her a shout out.
Yeah.
Farm to Fresh. Is it Farm to Fresh? Fresh. Yeah, Farm to Fresh is the name of her new podcast. She actually just changed it, like about like sustainability and food and things like that. Super interesting stuff. She has like conversations with people in that space.
Nice.
But one of the questions she asks is, tell me, and I'm going to ask you now, Natasha, tell me a little bit about what Natasha was like growing up. Like, let's kind of go back to when you were a kid and just kind of walk through that like time frame of your life a little bit, if you can.
Oh man, what a fun question.
Exactly.
So, growing up, I've always been an introvert, so I was a very quiet child, always to myself. Actually, I like to tell this story. My mom, she mentions to me a lot. She's like, when you were a kid, like if I didn't know where you were, I knew exactly where to find you. It was always in your bedroom, like working on something.
Wow.
It usually was homework, but like she would have to come in and tell me like, hey, take a break, go play.
Yeah.
Like she would have to tell me that. Normally you got to tell kids like, do your homework, I was the opposite.
Yeah.
I was doing my homework, I just didn't know how to take a break. So
yeah.
I was very quiet and studious. I loved, I loved school. I feel like it was, something that I was really good at, like getting good grades and just learning new things. But other than that, silly, just quiet. I didn't have that many friends. I've always kind of kept my circle really small, which, I think is good depending on your personality. But yeah, that's pretty much what I was like as a kid,
Yeah. No, that's really cool. So would you say that your sort of love of learning as a kid sort of translated to today? Is that still something that's like a part of you as a being, like always wanting to learn something new?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, very much so. And, back then I was into like drawing and doing creative things, things with my hands. I was really good at like just making things with my hands, like little origamis, just anything really. But yeah, for sure.
Major part. Yeah.
Lost my brain.
I could relate. No. I could totally relate to that. Like, that is, it's interesting too. Like, whether it's a YouTube video or masterclass or learning from someone in a podcast. I listen to like a lot of podcasts and stuff. Like, that is absolutely like one of my favorite forms of medium, compared to, the next person that you talk to, like loves watching, I don't know, reality TV or drama or like whatever. And no shade, of course, thrown that way. Well, a little bit of shade actually. But it makes us all, all unique and all individuals. But one of the things that I'm kind of interested in though is like about, like a lot of people always talk about, for individuals who want to learn, one of the best ways to learn is by reading. I don't read at all. I want to read, but I just don't do it. And I remember maybe like 9 or 10 years ago, like around New Year's, when New Year's was approaching, I remember having that thought, like, I want to make a conscious effort to like, read a little something every day, or read a book a month, or like some kind of like reading regimen. And from all the way back then to now, I would, it would come back up as like a thing that I wanted to do, but I just never would do it. And I'm kind of like, well, I'll first ask you a question, and then I'll make a statement about that. So, like, would you say that, do you do a lot of reading as well as the other things I mentioned, or is it more of the other stuff like the YouTube videos and tutorials?
So honestly, when I was a kid, it was always reading. Like, that was my main source. But I kind of lost it somewhere along the way, growing into adolescence and stuff. Now I do read, but it's definitely not like what it used to be. And I have also, I kind of have like the same goal as you. Like, I would like to do it more. I have my books, I just haven't picked them up in a while. But, for me, reading is more a pleasure than a learning experience. I mean, you learn, of course, too, when you read. But, like, for me, I read more for stories, like that's my entertainment. But when it comes to learning, I think one of my favorite ways is YouTube, like for sure. Yeah. Like, that's actually dope. How. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, let me let you finish first, and then I'll jump in.
I was just gonna say, like, for example, like one of the things that I do is digital art, and like literally YouTube is how I learned, how to do that. And there's a few other sources that I use, just like online, classes and stuff, but mainly YouTube was a great resource for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, when we were chatting the other day about Procreate, I happened to like go ahead and search for, I think I was looking at a tutorial, and then somehow I think it was like a live Procreate creation of sorts, like someone was starting from scratch and like creating some art. And as someone, I mentioned to you, like, I think you had asked like what was my reasoning, right, for kind of wanting to get into this. And sort of like my thing is music is paramount, but I've always definitely been interested in visual art, and creating visual art. I just absolutely sucked at it completely and utterly. And it's interesting because like I'm like not listening to, but like I guess you can say paying attention to these clues. So like when I'm tutoring and I'm on my iPad and I'm using GoodNotes to teach math, or sometimes even when I'm teaching piano, I notice that almost all the time now, like a pretty major part of my sessions is like I draw faces as a response to, a student getting a question right or wrong or something like that. And like weird, I think I sent you the one picture. I think it was like a weird face, something like that. So that's an example
So
of like
good.
the type of thing. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. It's just like, it's so there's something about it that is just absolutely exhilarating to me, and I'm like, oh, I love doing it. I can't stop doing it. And part of it is also getting the reaction of the students. Like many of them love it. Some of them
I'm
are confused by it, especially when they first like start working. They're like, what is this? Like, what am I getting into? I thought we were learning math, but meanwhile,
That's hilarious.
it is so cool. So I'm looking forward to learning it more and kind of approaching it in a different way than I approached learning music production on the iPad, which was at that time, I'm like, I need to know everything or almost everything about this app, about all these different apps so that I can try them all out and then figure out. Like, it was very meticulous and very like analytical, my approach, as opposed to saying like, let me just open GarageBand and let me just experiment with it and try it out and essentially learn the basics. How do I record? How do I stop? But kind of like play around with it a little bit. And that's what I've been doing with Procreate. And it's just bringing like immense joy. Like I drew a different picture than the one I sent you, but it was another, like, I think clearly like my thing is like faces and like weird expressions and stuff like that. So I drew another one like this, just weird character with a box head and like brush strokes. It's a very weird looking thing going on. And I just like held it up. I was like proud of it. So I was like holding up my iPad and I took my phone and took a selfie. And then, so it's in my phone right now. And I am like, I just want to like post it and be like I drew a self-portrait of myself and it looks nothing like me. It's not even anything close to it. So I'm really, really excited about that space. And then as we'll talk about later on, that intersection between the art and the music. And that's something that you're clearly, like, you have both lanes. I was going to ask, like, in terms of your digital illustrations and digital art and your music stuff, which you also are very much involved with, whether it's, creating, and then of course, I mean, mixing and mastering. Like, you really did an amazing job with the song that I sent to you that you helped me out with, which I'm super appreciative. Yeah, you're welcome. So I want to know, like, between those two, would you say that you have a preference of which one brings you more enjoyment between the digital art and the audio?
That's tough. For me, music has always been number one. Always. I was a singer, initially as a child, and that was like my first, instrument. I didn't know how to play any other instruments growing up, and I did draw, but like my inner me was always drawn to music more. But I feel like for me, as I've been growing into adulthood, and now I've been exploring more of those interests, starting in COVID, there's some good things that came out of COVID.
Sure.
But I started learning how to do that again, and once I started drawing again, I was like, man, like this is a really cool feeling, to be able to create. And yeah, you may not be good at it at first, but you learn certain techniques and color theory and all that, and you start to get better. And it's like, for me, I have both ends of the spectrum, but like when I get tired of one, I do the other. So I kind of like, I use it as like a break from each other to balance myself out.
That's quite profound. I mean, it might sound natural to you since you do it, but I think that there's something really to that, because like that whole concept of burnout or just being completely entrenched in one thing for too long can, of course, result, especially when that thing is something creative, can result in
like burnout,
the adverse, the opposite effect of what you want. You want creativity, you're trying to force it, you're doing it so much, but you're just stuck or something like that. So that's really cool to flex that other side of the brain. And I think, like, when I was going to make a comment about the video that I was watching, and it was, I mean, I don't even know how to properly articulate it, but there was something more magical or more special or more amazing to me with the visual aspect of starting from scratch to the end versus me watching. As a music producer, I'm not as, I'm really not as interested in watching other producers start from scratch and then create a beat. Like, it's only specific scenarios. I mean, if we're talking someone like Timbaland and his masterclass, like, that was incredible.
Yeah.
But just in general, it's not really, I mean, people that are on my same wave, like I do that already, so I don't necessarily find that as enjoyable as seeing this canvas. And like I was like completely blown away, and that was like very, very profound to me, and trying to figure out what that means exactly, and just having, like I said earlier, having fun with it, just like enjoying that. I'm not doing it to for any other reason aside from just having fun, and kind of nourishing that side of me. That's something that I was always interested in as a kid, you know.
It's funny that you say that, actually, because those are like my favorite videos to watch, you know.
Yeah.
If I don't feel like listening, because I love silence, you know. The silence is my way of getting back my, you know, equilibrium. But
Yeah.
like whenever I'm like watching stuff, I love watching those process videos. And you know, you always learn so much, you know. And everybody has their different processes that they use, and you're like, man, I just, you know, it's like you take a piece of each person that you watch, and you know, try it out for yourself, and you're like, oh, this works really well. But I do feel the same way about watching music producers, you know, or compose like from start to finish. It's just not as like, because it's not as visually appealing, you know. You don't have you know, colors on the screen, and you know, you're not watching like technique. It's more your ears, you know. It's more audio than anything. So it's, I wouldn't say it's less enjoyable, but I agree completely that it is more profound, you know, when you're watching visual art being created versus audio.
Yeah, no, definitely. So diving into your digital artistry a little bit. So like, if you had your iPad in front of you like later tonight, and you're like going to work on something, most of the time when you are starting from scratch, do you kind of like start from scratch physically as well as like in your mind, saying like, I have no idea what I'm about to create, I'm just going to, like, whether it's a person, abstract or whatever, or do you kind of go into it with like, oh, I'm going to make this, and then we're going to see how it kind of comes out?
It really depends, honestly, on the scenario. Sometimes, you know, if I'm feeling like I just want an outlet, then I kind of start from the perspective of, you know, like, what am I feeling right now? Like, let's grab a couple references for inspiration and go from there. Otherwise, it's me just like being inspired by something that I've seen, you know, or experienced, like whether it's a movie. Like, for example, recently, I don't know if you've seen Arcane on Netflix. It's
Arcane. I have not. Is it good? I haven't heard of it.
Do you like animation?
Really good? I love animation.
Okay, so
Yes.
it's actually an animation that's based on League of Legends, the video game, the computer game.
I've heard of it. Okay.
So it's so good, and I'm telling
Is it
you,
good?
as somebody who loves visual art, you will love the art style. It's so beautiful. It's pretty.
Wow.
But like, with that being said, you know, after watching that show, while I was watching that show, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm just so inspired by this style, you know. I want to like draw one of the characters, so I feel like that's probably, you know, what's going to happen next. But you know, it just depends on, you know, what's been going on. Like, I recently saw Spider-Man.
Nice.
So good, you know. I was inspired by that, because you know, in the art world, you know, especially on social media, you know, they're so good at like keeping up with everything that's happening, you know. So if like there's a movie that's about to come out, they start releasing their artwork for, you know, like, for example, Spider-Man, or for the show I've been seeing more and more of Arcane. Man, it's so good. And then when I see that, you know, on like Instagram and stuff, I get really inspired. So it really just depends.
Comes from different. Okay, that makes total sense. Comes from different perspectives, like whatever your, I guess, intentions are in that moment. I can totally. I'm thinking about, I guess, the last movie or show that I've seen that where like the animation I felt like was completely blew me away is when I was watching Soul. Is that the name of it? Yes. The Pixar movie.
Yes.
So good.
I cried.
Oh my goodness. It was, I mean, that touched me on, you know, different levels. You have like the visual, you have obviously the audio, the fact that he's a teacher, a musician, all that stuff, like very relatable. Jazz as well. My goodness. It was so good.
That was me.
And like this whimsical world that they were in with like these little creatures, like that whole, as well as the musical score. Like when I told people about the music in that movie, they're like, oh yeah, the jazz was really good, which it certainly was. I was kind of like really drawn to this other electronic whimsical music that they had playing for most of the time when he was, I forget the name of that area, but like it wasn't heaven or whatever that place was supposed to signify, and so the audio and the visuals together there just made me feel, after watching that, like I needed to create something. So I can totally, relate to that sort of feeling.
Yeah, for sure. That was an amazing movie. I knew when I saw the preview for that, I was like, "Ooh, I gotta see that." Just because it was jazz, I'm not gonna lie.
Yes, immediately. Yep. I remember that, and then that was so good. Okay, so that's actually super helpful actually to hear about that, like your process, because I think when it comes to music, very very relatably, to the side of when I'm going into making something here on my iPad. I'm almost never going into it with the intentions of making something for a specific reason. Aside from like on my keyboard here, like I have a song that when George Floyd, when that whole thing was going on, that moment I was like, I want to make something like that speaks to me like in this moment. I think that was one of one time. I don't think I've ever really done that before. Everything else that I've made has always just been like, let's just experiment. Let's just kind of see what comes out of this. And so it is interesting. It's interesting kind of hearing about other artists and like the way that they go about that, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I know everybody has their different things, but not unless it's like for a specific reason, like a client or something, a client request, then otherwise it's just like what's inspiring me at the moment.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some of your musical or even visual and audio, like I guess artistic influences. You can kind of take that either way. You can also just, if you have people that you just like their work, even if you're not influenced by them or feel that you're influenced, but like anyone that you kind of feel that you enjoy their content, whether it's their artistry musically or visually.
Oh man, musically I could go on and on, but my number one for sure, I'm an R&B head, is Musiq Soulchild. That is my number one. From the songwriting to his vocal ability to the music production, the mixing, it's incredible. And it's, that's definitely my favorite for sure. Other than, that's kind of like he is still relevant, but, like bringing it back to people that are current and fresh and all that. I really enjoy like Tom Misch.
I haven't heard of Tom
No?
Misch.
Oh, they're incredible musicians. Sam Wills is like kind of in that, they're not in a group, but they work together a lot. They collaborate, him and then also Jordan Rakai. It's like this little trio they have. They're really, really good musicians. They're so tight when they play together.
Wow, dope. These are three individual artists that are independent individuals, but they also collaborate on stuff?
Exactly.
Okay, cool. All right.
Other than that, I mean, there's like artists here and there that I've been finding, randomly, like whether it's through social media or maybe just on a playlist on Apple Music, which is my main source for music. Like recently, I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but a producer that I really like is Kromonichi. I think that's how you pronounce it. I actually, his song is the one that I used for the artwork that I just posted. The last one that I posted. Simply Put, that's
actually on my. Okay, yeah.
That's Kromonichi. But I like his style. I really seem to gravitate more towards artists and producers that play instruments. It's just, for some reason, it just connects a lot more to me. But, and then I also have artists that I have always loved, like Frank Ocean. His individuality is beyond this world,
Oh, he's incredible. Did you see, what was it, one of the award or the fashion events where he had like the robot baby with him? Did you see that?
No. That sounds amazing though.
It was very amazing and weird.
Weird.
You'll definitely have to look it up. I mean, if you're a fan of his, like you'll love.
But that's why I love him.
He's amazing. He's super talented. Yeah, I love Pink and White or Pink Plus White on
Yeah.
his album. That's a beautiful song. I love Nights. I love Nikes. There's quite a few other ones on there. I like how Andre 3000 was on the solo reprise or one of the solo songs on there, which is dope. It's a great, great, great album.
My
Really good.
favorite is actually Nostalgia Ultra. Is
Oh yeah.
like when he
Okay.
first was coming out.
Yes.
That's like my classic. But then
That's
you
a good
know
one.
I
That's-
like his albums after that. But I will say, I mean I'm kind of sometimes a tough critic, but his like newer stuff that he's dropped, like the features that he's done on a few other people's stuff, I'm like, yeah, I can't
Not-
can't vibe
not a
with
big
it. But
fan.
I do
Okay.
still really value him as an artist and musician and all that. So
Yeah, and that's me and this guy right here, and Tyler the Creator.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I love that guy's his artistry and his uniqueness and all that stuff. We've spoken about him, of course, before.
yeah.
So I was gonna ask a question about sort of your day to day now in terms of like what it is that you work on the regular. I know you do mixing and mastering. That's would you say one of your main sort of things that you're doing in addition, obviously, to the visual art?
Yes, for sure. My number one is definitely mixing and mastering.
Yeah.
And then sometimes recording. The recording comes, you know, it's like the next stepping stone for that. But definitely mixing
Yeah.
and mastering is like my main thing that I do, you
Yeah.
know, when I'm sitting at my desk. Otherwise, you know, I work on productions because I have two sides, you know. For a while I kind of struggled with deciding whether I wanted to keep it separate or not, and I think I decided on keeping it separate. But I have like my instrumentalist producer side, and then I have like my artist side. So I definitely want to keep it separate because for my artist side is you know, definitely R&B, more like soulful and stuff. And then for my instrumental, I like to experiment more. So sometimes it's like electronic, sometimes it's ambient. You know, I released that one ambient track. It really just depends on what I'm feeling. And for that, I do want to work on releasing a lo-fi album for that, or
Dope.
EP, probably EP. But yeah, and then other than that, for illustration, it's more at this point, unless something comes up, it's more for leisure and more for my sanity, you know, for release, you know, stress release, relief. And that's normally when I turn to my iPad and open up Procreate and I just start creating. Recently, I did a logo for an event company here. So that was something that I had a purpose for, you know, doing that. Yeah. And actually, so to be honest with you, Procreate is not actually like the best for logo design. You can do it. It looks more professional when you have it vectors versus pixels, because pixels, you know, when you zoom in, like you kind of limited. But so I don't actually I'm learning. So that's one of the things that I'm learning, how to use another program. I think it's called Affinity on iPad, but they also have it's like a program that's for the computer, but they, you know, opened it up for iPad too as well. The app. So I'm learning how to use that, and I actually want to do more logo design because I really enjoy that a lot.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So logo design. So someone coming to you and I guess giving you some information about their company, about their brand, if they have color scheme, that kind of thing, and then you kind of working with them, maybe a little back and forth, maybe a couple different options, and then kind of collaborating. Is that kind of how it works?
Yes. So usually people know pretty much what they want. The only thing is that, you know, sometimes people may not realize like the small details, but in general, like they know, you know, they'll say, okay, you know, they'll send me maybe a reference. Well, hopefully they do. Otherwise, it's kind of difficult. But
sure.
Because then at that point you end up like going back and forth a lot. But yeah, for example, there was someone else that I did a logo for a while back, and they actually sent me a drawing of what they drew, and they were like something like this, but you know, make it more you. And I was like, okay, see, this is perfect, you know. Like I can definitely do this for sure. So, but
Yeah.
you know,
That's dope. Logo design. Okay.
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But there are easier ways to do it than drawing it. So that's why I'm saying, like, on Procreate, you kind of just have to draw everything yourself.
Yeah.
And, hope it looks super nice. But with, like, vectors, that's like the way to do it. So I definitely want to get better at that.
So as a math guy, I'm thinking about vectors and what that means, I guess, in the art world. Are we talking about, instead of freehand drawing lines, we're talking about being able to create straight edges, like, to perfection, like that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I'm not really the best person to explain it, but there's a difference between vectors and pixels. So pixels,
Okay.
like, you can see, like let's say you draw a circle, right? And if you zoom in all the way, you can see, like, the pixels, like the small pixels, But with vectors, it's smooth, even if you zoom in.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
that's like,
Interesting.
that's what makes it more professional looking. So
Yeah.
you can see, like, why that would make a huge difference. Most people,
course.
I mean, to be honest, to be fair, most people don't really notice stuff like that. But when it comes to, like, let's say that you give somebody a logo, right, and you made it in pixels, and they want to use it for, like, t-shirts, they want to sell, they want to put it on a banner, like, when they expand it, it may not be as good quality as when you initially handed it over to them. So that's why, the professionals, they go with vectors versus pixels, because, you just avoid all that.
That makes sense. And I mean, that kind of makes me think about, when you mixed and mastered the track for me, and I remember the email you sent to accompany that, like, the professionalism and, like, the attention to detail. Like, it's like, I get the impression with you and working with you in that case, as well as hearing you speak now, that, like, yeah, you're very intentional and you want things to be a specific way, and you're very professional with, like, the presentation. Otherwise, you wouldn't necessarily probably care about vectors versus pixels, but you're putting a lot into it. You're learning about it, and you're like, I want to be better than just average, and I think or even better than good, better than great. Like, you're trying to, keep excelling, which I think is definitely a great thing.
Thank you. Yeah, and that kind of goes back to your question earlier about, like, learning, and how that's translated. I'm, constantly, like, trying to find ways to get better at stuff, because I know that there's certain things that I do that I may not be the best at, but as long as you can acknowledge that and go from there to, learn more about how to do it better and to be more professional with it, that's a very important concept to me.
Definitely, and paying attention to, sounds like both of us are on it, in terms of, like, paying attention to the things that bring us enjoyment, as well as the things that bring us enjoyment and that we excel at and that we're good at. We have a natural gift for example. Like, these are the things that, I think God put us on this earth to do these things. Hopefully, maybe inspire other people with it. That's, to me, that's, like, one of the main things that I, like, love about what it is that I do. And, like, when it comes to like live streaming, I was live streaming yesterday, for example, and I was having, like, a sort of heart to heart with, like, there was only, like, a few people in the Twitch stream. I was, like, chatting with them, and it was, like, very intimate. And I'm, like, talking to them, and I'm like, this is something that's been on my mind for a while. But I, like, said it to them because it was the truth. It was the fact that since I've been live streaming and since I've been making content, like, there's so many people out there that are extremely talented at what they do, and are very professional, right? You've come across them. You know the deal, right? And so, like, the competition level in terms of standing out from these other people who are just, like, absolutely killing it, you can't, like, necessarily fake it. I mean, we can talk about the way that people are faking it and things like that. There are ways around it, I think, but in terms of, like, being genuine, building, like, a genuine audience, you have to, I think, be great at what you do and and work pretty hard in order to, especially when you're first starting, to, like, build that foundation and then kind of go from there. And so what I was telling them was, like, there was a time when I first started streaming where the numbers mattered to me, right? I was like, okay, like, I'm looking at the number of people and live stream, all that kind of thing.
Naturally,
exactly, right? So that's, like, when you first start, like, you're worried about that kind of thing.
Yep.
But yesterday I was telling them, like, I was like, it was whatever, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night over here. And I'm like, you 7 people are here chatting with me, enjoying my content, when there are many other people. Like I went on my Twitch and I saw some of the other people who I follow their content and interact with them and stuff, and they are also live right now. And I'm like, their stuff is incredibly, high production value. It's great. It's fantastic. They're really doing a great job. But it kind of dawned on me that, like, you guys, right, are choosing to spend time with me, and instead of doing so many other things that they can be doing. There's like so many other things, but they want to see Kevin, they want to see Khordmaster, sing or produce. Or I think I was playing the piano upstairs. I know I was, because it was just yesterday. But I was like, playing the piano upstairs, and it was like, I was like, that meant a lot to me. So I had to like make sure they were aware of that for sure.
Oh, yeah, that's really special. It's so hard, in this generation that we're in. Everyone thinks that it's all about the numbers, which, I mean, in certain cases, sometimes it is, but, there's so many other qualities that can bring people to you. Like, maybe it's your personality that maybe this person that has super high production doesn't have,
Yeah.
or maybe it's like a certain topic that you talk about, or maybe it's the genre that you play. I don't know. There can be so many things, that make people connect to you. So there's not, just one way to do it. So I think it's a really important topic for you to touch on those.
Yeah,
it's good to definitely tell your audience too, like, hey, I appreciate you being here.
It's important.
What is it about me?
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the one person at the end said, so I brought the keyboard upstairs. I have one keyboard up and I have this one down. Before, I had both of them down here. And yesterday was just very casual. Like, it wasn't this sort of as professional setup. It was just like, took my phone and just kind of went live. And, the person went out his way to say, like, he can say it again.
It's like hanging out.
Exactly. Very casual and just matter of fact. I didn't care too much about other aspects. So it was like very organic. It was just like they were literally, like you said, hanging out in the same room with me. Now, let me ask you a question. So I mentioned to you something that I'm very interested in. I wanted to know what you think about this. So, and it has to do with art, music a little bit, but more of like art and more, I'll just explain it and you let me know your thoughts. So there's like so many funny conversations and funny things that happen in our household, in the Allen household, right? I'm a like so many things. I do. So it's from me, and then it's also things that my wife says and does. Mostly says. Like, she says things that are funny that I'm like, I have to capture these. Like, I start, I'm trying to figure out what to do with all these moments. Like, she doesn't want to necessarily be like online and be like that online personality kind of thing. Like I'm kind of working towards, which I totally understand and respect. But so what I was like, and also like things that happen, like if it's first thing in the morning, if she doesn't feel, confident or comfortable or whatever with like the way she looks, like she wants to present herself a certain way, totally understandable, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, so let me start like audio recording some of these interactions. Like sometimes, like she was, and it's all coming from a place of love. And one time she's telling me about like my live streams and how like the hoodie that I'm wearing, it's like almost always the same hoodie. Okay.
Oh.
And she's like, call me out on it. And I'm like, well, I can definitely like use your help a little bit, like maybe like help like style or whatever, like that kind of thing. So we're just like, we're talking about it. It's just like a funny interaction. She's like, no, she's like, I'm gonna go on Instagram right now. She's like, I'm counting like 1, 2, 3. She's counting how many. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're kind of right about that. But my thought is this, and this is like, like, I think ideas all, come out of like situations like this. The situation is that these are funny interactions. I know that whenever I post things between us two, like when I pranked her and like went in the room and just told her deadpan face, serious face, that like my friend has a litter of kittens, and I told him that we're gonna take 2 of them on, and she hates cats. And I love cats.
Oh.
And we were having a conversation about it, and I was like, I just recorded the whole thing. It was it was like first thing in the morning, like real dark in the room, so you couldn't even see us, but it was more of an audio thing. But like these moments are things that I really love doing. Most of the people that know us love that content, and I believe that many others. I mean, I've watched other couples and other people who do things like that. That's like the funniest thing to me, like pranks or like interactions, like random things like that. So I'm recording all these via audio. I have like audio interactions with us too. What I would want, and I did a little research, I don't see it available right now. Maybe you can like, we can work together and we can do something with this, okay? What I want is I want to have a platform, an app that I can send a voice memo into, and this app will clearly be able to separate the two voices, you know, my voice versus Jessica's voice, totally different voices. So it'll, like, be able to like separate the voices and generate a animation from either pictures of us, or probably, let's say pictures of us. So it's the audio file, and it's like 2 pictures that we upload to the app, and then it creates like essentially like emojis essentially, or like some kind of cartoon, interesting looking cartoon, and it like has that scenario that happened in real life turn into a cartoon, square format or whatever format you want it to be, 16 by 9 or 9 by 16, whatever, or 16 by 9. And then perhaps, like, you know, you could put you can upload a track, a music track, so it's like a little background music or whatever. Boom, upload that to social media. I would absolutely pay for that. I would love to have that. I don't see anything like that available. And so that's an idea that I had, that for me, I don't know if there are a lot of people who are like, yeah, that I would love to use such an app, but I know that for me, I would love to use it. So I want to know like what your thoughts are like on that from the animation perspective, and being able to, I don't know, do some type of design to create the cartoons, and then like if you think that's a good idea or not.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I always enjoy these ideas that you shoot out. They're so fun and colorful always. I do think that people would enjoy that, especially us being in, you know, an era of content creation, and people like, even people that aren't necessarily content creators, you know, they always want to have like content to put out on their social media and stuff. I think that would be a really fun thing for them to have access to, for sure. And plus, you know, it's fun because it's animation. You know, I love animation. But I feel like, I'm not sure how that would work. I feel like that would take a little bit of maybe programming, you know, on
definitely.
Like programming for sure. Aside from, you know, art, but it's definitely possible. You should reach out to some programmers and see what's up.
I definitely will do that. I think that, coupled with the thing that we talked about before that combines visual and music, that is another, like, I have this app or this program now called Notion that my friend told me about, and it's a note-taking app. Have you heard of it before?
I've heard of it. I have not utilized it at all, but I've definitely heard Notion. Yeah. What is it essentially?
It's a place that I'm using as my #1 repository for everything in my life, for the most part. Everything like note related. So prior to using Notion, I would have some stuff in Google Keep, some stuff in Apple Notes, some stuff in Google Sheets, some stuff in Google Docs, some stuff in Microsoft Word. Like, stuff is just like all over the place. And whether this stuff is like, I don't know, ideas that I have, like what we're talking about now, or if it's a Excel or Google Sheets spreadsheet for my business, for example. Like, having this place is basically a note-taking, and yeah, I guess you can say note-taking and all, but it's like on note-taking on steroids, as my friend described it to me. I don't know if that's like steroids. I don't know. Okay, cool. You know, on steroids, fine.
I'll take it.
It's like to the extreme, you know, that type of thing. And I'm absolutely loving it. I mean, one of the things that I was realizing for me was that the amount of ideas that come to me constantly, whether it's an idea like we just talked about, or if it's just I need to make some simple merch so I can have like a Khordmaster shirt during my live streams. These types of things. So that's more of a task than like a big, you know, grand idea kind of thing. And clearly I need those shirts so that I can wear something different during my live streams, of course.
Pass them along to your friends too.
And that too, promote. Yeah. Definitely. And even thinking, so talking about merch for a second. So I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about the type of stuff that I want to create. Certainly it will be branded, certainly my logo on it and the word Khordmaster. I've seen someone had like a shirt, I think it was Mike Dean, Mike Dean. Have you heard of him before? Do you know who this is? He's like a not that famous, clearly, but he's a person who is a synthesist, I guess you can call him, someone who like knows a lot about synth music and plays synth really well and plays guitar really well. But he's worked a lot with Kanye West and a lot of other artists, like behind the scenes, like production and mixing and things like that.
Nice.
And so I was watching probably a YouTube video of him, and he had a plain black shirt. And I believe it was him, or it could have been someone else. After this whole explanation of who Mike Dean is, maybe it's not even him. But whoever it was a plain black shirt, and it just said, if it was Mike Dean, it just said Mike Dean on the bottom left, like going vertically. I was like, that shit is hot. I want that to say Khordmaster. I want that. I want it right now. So I took a picture of it.
I like it.
So like, yeah, it's very simple, but just a little different or whatever. But I think that like in terms of designs and like things that I would want to create, a person on my channel may purchase that, but not very many people will get it unless they're trying to support. I want to create stuff that people that are following my content, which I mean, it's very easy to look at the type of people who follow my content are people who are interested in this type of stuff. So like have some merch that I can design using Procreate a little bit perhaps, or using Canva, using these other things that I've learned over the past, year or two, and still learning of course now. And just create some stuff that's appealing to my audience essentially, and that's been on my list of things to do for a while. So that's like something that I currently, like yesterday I made one that said music is ... It's an idea I'm still figuring out kind of thing, but like I just feel like there's so many different, like that's something that if I wear that somewhere, like I think it would spark conversation. It would tell people about who I am right away probably. And then it would just spark conversation kind of thing. And then I'd be like, oh, well, go ahead and look up Khordmaster, Khordmaster right here on YouTube or whatever. So, yeah, as well as, of course, masks. Yes, on the back as well. Yep. So it's exciting. I'm thinking it through to kind of figure out how to manage these things. The thing I was going to say about Notion is that there are so many different things like this that I feel like I have to do. And I didn't have them organized in a way where I would wake up and then I feel like things too much on my shoulders kind of thing. Like I feel like I have all these different things to do. But now what I'm thinking is like, no, I don't have to do really any of these. I mean, there's probably certain ones on there I do have to do, but most of these things are just, I don't have to like make it seem like this is like critical. Like I can just be like, oh, let me, like for example, KMAT's my tutoring mentoring business. I know for a fact, almost a fact, it's not definite, but I'm pretty positive that if I created a YouTube channel for KMATs and branded myself as a black teacher, former teacher / current tutor, entrepreneur, and showed my face on camera like this and did some math lessons or whatever, that would be significant because I was not able to find anyone doing anything close to that looks like us,
Right.
I say us like it's us, but you know what I'm saying. Look like
Hey,
And exactly. You're pretty. Yeah, you're pretty much there. So you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, things like that. I'm just like basically wanting to figure out and prioritize these different things. The important ones, the ones that are gonna maybe bring in more revenue, bring in more visibility into the business for students to join into the workshop and stuff. So it's been fun. It's been a cool experience so far. But you should definitely check out Notion if you feel like it might be helpful for you in managing, information.
For sure. Is it like one of those things where it has kind of like the cloud, where does the information go? Is it just on the iPad? Does it take up storage or how does it work in terms of storage?
Yeah. So I'm not even sure if it's unlimited or not. I know they have a pro plan that has other features, but I didn't see anywhere where it indicated that. So to answer your question, it is cloud-based. So I can access notes on my phone, on my iPad. I use it mostly on the computer because the desktop or the laptop environment is just, it may be a little bit easier to use, but I certainly on my iPad on a bigger screen, I can get around pretty easily on there as well. And yeah, it stores in the cloud, so everything is synced up together. Even like if like you were mentioning, you said Arcane, for example. So if I remember to do so, I have like a little system. I have now two places. I have one that is like right on the left. A person who I am interested very much in his YouTube channel. This guy, Rough Criminal. just responded to my
Cool name.
cool name, exactly. So he does. He's actually hilarious. He does like 10-second. I know I'm all over the place, but this is kind of what we expected,
You're
right?
good.
Conversation.
I'm the same way.
Exactly. He does 10-second like album reviews on his channel. So he literally
Nice.
has video uploads where he's just sitting there and he's like, and part of that 10 seconds is it's hilarious. Part of the 10 seconds is him even like saying like, you know, in today's video, I'm going to do an album review of Kendrick Lamar's Damn. So that's like 4 seconds right there. And then he just like says one thing about the album that, from what I've seen, everything is like, it's almost like perfect and funny because it encapsulates, like he says for Kendrick Lamar's Damn, I think he said, I think, have you heard the album by chance?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure you listened to it, right?
Yeah, for
so
sure.
it was good, but it wasn't nearly as good as To Pimp a Butterfly, right?
Uh-huh.
Would you agree with that?
I do agree.
Right. So he said Kendrick Lamar's Damn, it was frustratingly average. And then the video just ended. And I'm like, I was like, yeah. I was like, I've only listened to the album a few times. I didn't love the album. I was like, yeah, that's pretty accurate. You know, it's pretty accurate. I kind of like that.
That feels
but
like
he
something
has
I
like
would
funny.
say.
Oh, absolutely. Frustratingly because it's like I expected, you know,
More
something a
from
little
him.
bit better.
Yeah.
But To Pimp a Butterfly set it so high though. I mean, you ended the album with like Tupac talking.
That's his
and it'd be
classic.
like, come on, yeah.
So.
You can't. I don't know. And I'm wondering, like, what is this guy working on right now? Like, there's so much that's happened in the world since his last album. I know he's working on something like he's just like in hibernation, like honing in on his craft, and he's gonna release.
I know he
hopefully
did like
something.
a feature with his cousin. He has like a younger
Yes.
cousin that
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. My buddy told me about that. I don't know if I actually listened to it yet, but I think he told me that album was worth checking out.
I liked it, but I think it got a lot of kickback from, you know, his usual fans.
Oh,
But I thought
okay.
it was,
Yeah.
you know,
Decent.
his cousin got bars.
Yeah. There you go. Got bars. There you go. So I'm gonna ask one more question and then we'll wrap for the
Okay.
day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll let you go get lunch or something or whatever. It's dinner. I don't know. Early dinner.
Yeah, we
late
gotta
lunch.
eat.
You know. Yeah. Definitely. So 2 more questions actually. First question is, name a movie that you love. It can be any movie that you love. Doesn't have to be your favorite movie of all time.
Movie.
Mm-hmm. And it can't be Soul because we talked about that already.
I did really like Soul, but I wouldn't say it was my favorite ever.
Yeah.
Kubo and the Two Strings.
Oh, I haven't heard of that. What is that about?
It's an animation. It's actually stop motion.
What does stop motion mean?
So it's okay. So you know you have like 2D,
You like
3D.
let me explain. You like let me go ahead and
They actually mold like the characters like, you know, with their hands. So it's like clay. Actually,
Okay.
is it claymation? I don't think it is clay. I know that the facial expressions are clay. They have to make like every facial expression. and
Wow.
They
Dope.
move, you
Okay.
know, they move the little figurines and shoot it like a regular movie, but it, you know, it's by frame, of course, just like animation.
Okay.
But it's so stop motion. You know, it's stopped. You take a frame.
That's
you know,
crazy.
change
So
their
that probably takes a long time.
movement. Oh my God, yes,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
takes so many frames. And so with that movie in particular, it's through Laika. I don't know if that's how you say the company's name. I think it is, but it's LAIKA. Amazing company. But they're known for having like really smooth stop motion because of how many, I mean, of course their techniques and their team are insane, but also they use so many frames and it's so smooth. It looks like a real movie.
Wow. What,
Almost.
Is the story really good too? I'm assuming, or is it
The
mostly
story
the
is
animation?
amazing. You have to watch
Is
it.
All right, I gotta check it out.
You should
I'm gonna
watch
text you
it.
after this so I can write it down because it seemed like the title was very hard to remember. It seemed like just some random letters or words that you just.
Do you
said.
want me to tell you anything about it, or you want a surprise?
Good question. Well, I definitely will watch it because I think that this question that I ask is quite amazing because I get movies, and sometimes I ask TV shows, most of the time movies, I get movies that people that I know and respect and you know, and vibe with, I get their favorite or one of their favorites. I'm like, especially when it's something I haven't heard of, like I definitely will have to check that out. And I'll say that I will not hear anything about it from you right now, actually. and
Fair.
I will. Yeah, we'll talk about it after I watch it. I'll probably. Yeah, I will definitely check it out for sure. I love animation. I love but I'm curious about, and I'm interested in, like talking to you about it. You like watching it, but you also like very interested in the technical creation of it, which is also like maybe a lot of people who watch that are just like, oh, this looks really cool or really interesting, but
Yeah.
they're not like thinking about how did they make this look different than this other animation over here.
It's funny that you say that. I feel like, us as creatives, and depending on like what your interests are, obviously my interests also lie with visual art and animation as well. So like when
Yeah.
I watch stuff like that and, you have the interest in like what it is to make it, it just makes you appreciate it that much more.
Agreed.
It's like,
Yeah.
that it's not easy, but they made it look so good and so, like professional, and it just it makes you want to learn more about the process, and actually the way that I found out more about it, well, I also did a project on it, like I did a paper or something on it in my master's degree. I wrote about the studio. I don't remember what it was about, but I think I did a presentation. But then part of how I saw like their process was actually on LinkedIn. I followed their studio. After watching the movie, I was like, oh, I got to. And
Yeah.
I mean, I also have the aspiration of one day, hopefully, being able to be a part of something like that.
Yeah,
that would be
yeah.
amazing. And we've talked a little bit
Awesome.
about that before.
Definitely.
But yeah, for sure, I was on LinkedIn and I had followed their company, and I liked some of their stuff, and it popped up, a video of how they made it, and I was watching it and I was like, this is so cool. It's just so
Yeah.
cool, to see how they do it, and it's really impressive. It really is, and like
can't
I said,
wait
it
to
makes
check
you
it out.
appreciate everything that much more.
Yeah, I can't wait to check it out. I'm very excited for that, and I totally can relate to what you just shared. I think one thing that comes to mind, I had my wife and I and my sister-in-law, my wife's sister, were over watching the Beyonce Africa Lion King thing
On
right?
Netflix?
I don't know.
Right?
Was it on? I think, or HBO? Was it on Netflix? It was on one of those things. It was like a music video / movie with
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm talking about, right? It was on
I
one-
didn't watch it, but I do remember seeing it being promoted and stuff. I never got
Okay.
around to watching it, but I heard it was
Gotcha.
it's really
It was
fascinating.
It was quite fascinating. It was coming at a time when I was trying to experiment a little bit more. I think at that time I don't know if I guess I may have had guests on at that time, but maybe I just started and I was trying to like incorporate and inject some creativity into my videos and not have them just be still two people talking, or even sometimes just me talking, maybe a second camera, maybe zoom in, panning, all that kind of stuff. And I'm sitting there, so I'm kind of like starting that on my journey at that moment, and then I'm watching this and I'm watching it through those lens of like everything that you just mentioned, of like, man, how much work, like I'm like completely amazed at it. And so yeah, you can get inspired so effortlessly, I guess. Inspired effortlessly, I don't know if that's a profound thing to say, but you can get inspired easily, I guess, through like any type of thing like that. It can it doesn't even have to be something so grand as that. It can be a post of a friend who posts something musically or visuals or whatever, and then yeah, you just feel inspired from that moment. So
those are my
I think
most
that's dope.
inspired moments, is from
Oh, yeah.
friends, people doing
Oh.
things that you're interested in, or like that you want to do too. But for sure,
Yeah.
Beyonce, man, like even back in the day when she used to have her, I mean, not just back in the day, but like my specific fond memories of like her shows before, the production, the shows would be so incredible, like the sets, everything,
Yeah.
the choreography, the audio, all that. It's crazy. Visuals.
attention to detail that has to go into something like that has to be like,
Yes.
yeah, sky high. Things need to be, and that's always fascinating to me, like people who perfect their craft, like Michael Jordans of the world, Kobe Bryant, Beyonce, Michael Jackson, Kanye. I mean, there's a lot of people we can name, of course, but just like studying and seeing how they got to where they are, and understanding that, yes, it does it does take work. I mean, especially like I'm getting back to basics a little bit with the piano. That's kind of why I brought the piano upstairs, is that I felt I wanted to have a little bit of separation for, sounds, creativity, synthesis, beats in one section, but up there, it's more chill. It's more, and I mean, I'm excited. I'm very excited. I did one live stream today with like the piano positioned in a way where our fireplace, which my wife whitewashed and looks amazing now, and like a whole bunch of plants that she has over there, and it looks so dope with the backdrop, like
where's
better
the picture?
than any. I know. Yeah, I don't have a. Well, actually, I do have a picture, but I'll maybe when I release this, I'll probably like put like a little clip of it, maybe if I remember to.
Okay.
And I'll definitely send you a picture. As a matter of fact, here we go. Let's go. This is what we're about to do. I actually just took a picture of this now, so because I won't remember to do what you just said. Like I won't. Let's see how clear this comes in. Let's see. I gotta cover my face so that there's an autofocus.
Oh.
Right.
Is that your piano there too, in front of it?
So that's the piano there, right in front of the window. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited. So like I figured out a way to.
Props to the wifey.
Yeah, she let me do a little bit in the top right corner, and then she hated the way it came out. She was like, no, get down. You just do the playlist, and I was like, all right, cool, perfect. I'll put some R&B vibes on. Put some music, Soul Child, and some Luther, and something. Yes. Exactly.
The classics.
Yep. That's it.
Classic R&B.
But yeah, definitely so glad that we finally did this, and I definitely appreciate you taking some time out. Definitely enjoyed. I just said definitely 6 times. It felt like 6 times. I really enjoyed chatting with you, and you can let people know actually where to find you on social media if you don't mind.
Sure. So it's on Instagram. It's The Art of NA. Actually, not nah. But if you want to say nah, that's cool too.
There you go.
And that's
NA.
pretty much.
I never knew that.
Yeah, it's my initials. So it's Natasha, my last name A. So
gotcha. So if anyone says The Art of Now, you probably like, ugh, I hate that because like I used to put. It's actually kind of funny because my initials are KA. And when I was working at Verizon, I remember I just thought it was cool to like, instead of putting on my signature like Kevin at the bottom, I started putting KA at the bottom with capital letters. And then I remember one guy like started calling me Ka. not as a joke, but just because he thought that maybe like name? That's what I want to be called now.
Oh, okay.
Like a change or something. And I was like, that sounds terrible. Ka is horrible. I hate it. I was like, let me just go back to. So that's good to know. So The Art of NA. I thought, I don't know why I thought nah, but probably because it says nah, but I didn't realize that it was the NA initials. Okay,
that's
now
fine.
I know.
I'm not offended at all. That's
cool.
Totally fine.
You can say that, but you are. It's okay. It's gonna be okay.
No, I'm really not.
Okay, cool. But got it. I will put that information in the description, of course. And yeah, hope you have an awesome rest of the day. And like I said, appreciate you taking the time out. And,
thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. And we'll definitely talk soon, okay?
All right. Have a good one.
You too.